allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of consent agenda.
Can they hear us now?
So moved.
We have warrants for $193,698.90.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Councilman Tennant.
Yes.
Councilman Cook.
Yes.
Councilman Gray.
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Councilman Waiter.
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Motion passes. Consent agenda has been approved. Remarks of visitors.
We received none.
We received none this evening. Bids. Cromwell box culvert installation.
If you recall, gentlemen, a while back, we accepted a bid on the materials for this. This is for now the installation of the box culvert. This is a labor only. So we spent we budgeted about 70 for this. We put 36 into the pipe, and then the low bid from residential and commercial demolition is for $32,549.
We having any failures with that existing one now?
It's there's some it's just old more than anything else.
They're gonna widen it too.
Correct. Yeah, I think there's a larger piece that they're putting in.
I'll entertain a motion to approve from Residential and Commercial Demolition LLC for $32,549.20. Motion's been made
I'll second.
and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Councilman Waiter.
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Councilman Gray.
Yes.
Councilman Cook.
Yes.
Councilman Tennant.
Yes.
Motion passed. And we have a bid for the 2020 asphalt overlay project.
As you can see in the staff report, we opened 5 sealed bids. This includes the Tanglewood, Lee, Cave, and Adams group. The Sunnyside group was initially included in the bid. If you see on page 10, Sunnyside is the priciest group of the bunch, and put us way over budget at $660 for the total amount. And we would like to pull that out from all of the 5 bids, and set that up perhaps for next year. Doing that, the low bid is Joker's Paving. They're the low bid with it included, and the low bid with Sunnyside pulled out.
I'm sorry. Why we pull Sunnyside out?
It puts us at $1,700,000.
Way over
But
budget.
by itself, on the low bid, it's $542, $510.
Do we have the right to pull a bid out though?
If we do it consistently, in this case, we're making, essentially, we're taking all of the same prices for each group from all 5 contractors.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Good question.
And what was good is pulling it out, I believe, still kept the same bidder. It
Correct.
would have looked bad if they moved to the top just to.
No,
it's
yeah,
good.
it's
good.
The lineup on the bidders didn't change at all, actually, with the Sunnyside removal. The ranking 1 through 5 remains the same.
One quick question.
Yeah, Bill.
I'm sure they're gonna do it, but on Lee Avenue, it's like a washboard. They're gonna level that.
There'll be some milling, there'll be some mill work that's done, some wedging as well.
That too, are they going to fill in all those dips? Which is where we put water lines in 10 years ago, and every one of them sunk, and we just go like that, because a lot of
That's-
people switch and go in the wrong lane
Sure.
in front of the cemetery, they
Mhm.
travel on the wrong side,
Correct,
so they're gonna fix that.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
It is bad. The evidence.
As a washboard.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid from Joggers Paving for $634,930.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Tennant,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Gray,
Yes,
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Waiter,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Tonight we have Bill 4578. Will the clerk please read Bill 4578 for the first time?
Bill number 4578, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a contract with Jokers Paving and Contracting for the 2020 asphalt paving program, incorporating said contract as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, no discussion. I'd like to suspend the rules and read Bill 4578, second time by title only.
Motion's been made. I'll need a second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to waive the rules and read Bill 4578 for the second time in title only. All those in favor say aye.
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 Will the clerk please read the bill 4578 for the second time in title only?
Bill number 4578, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a contract with Jokers Paving and Contracting for the 2020 asphalt paving program, incorporating said contract as a part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date. Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Wainer,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Gray,
Yes,
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Tennant.
Yes. Bill 4578 has passed. We have Bill 4579 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4579, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the plat of Oak Grove Terrace 2 and establishing an effective date.
The staff report is there on page 76. This creates two legal R2 lots. From a single lot, there was a single home there that was demolished, cleaned up, and they would like to build two houses on the two conforming lots.
Is there any discussion?
Has it been ran through planning and zoning on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and it was approved. Is there any discussion on Bill 4579? I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4579 for the second time.
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made
I'll second.
and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4579 for the second time in title only?
Bill number 4579, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the plat of Oak Grove Terrace 2 and establishing an effective date. Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Tennant,
Yes.
Councilman Gray,
Yes,
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Waiter,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Bill 4579 has passed. We have Bill 4580 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4580, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the plat of Tanglewood Estates, Plat 3, Lot 24C, and establishing an effective date.
As you can see in the staff report on page 81, this is a lot consolidation of lots 24A and B. Much has been very similar to what's been done numerous times up there on Masters. Planning and zoning did recommend the lot consolidation.
Is there any discussion? Yes,
I have
sir.
a question. When Tanglewood was formed, they were supposed to pay up here the same as the other houses, like for these sewer taps, per lot. So when they buy 2 lots but 1 house, do they have to pay the same share for the sewers, or do they pay less?
That's a good question, Bill. I don't have the answer right now. I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure, but I can certainly get it for you.
Yeah, you're right, that NID's attached per lot.
It is, yeah.
Well, if it's, the way that the covenants of NIDS work is that if you own 2 lots that are consolidated to 1, it's based on the original plat. The assessments are based off the original plat, so the assessments would be combined due to the fact that you're combining 2 lots from the original plat. That's how a NID is set up. So without being able to tell you exactly, NID language is fairly common throughout the state, and the assessments would be per lot at the time of the purchase.
Oh, one question, and Sam might be able to help on this. Was it originally though 1 lots, then later someone come back and asked for the doubles, then it went back now, not back to 1, you can build 1 or 2 now? I just don't remember.
It was originally put together for townhouses adjoining.
Okay, it was, okay.
Okay, and then it was split to single lots. And now with Masters being built, a lot of, I think this is the 5th or 6th consolidation
That's what I can think of.
that we've had, that someone wants to build a bigger house, so they want 2 lots. That's why these happen.
And I understand, I don't wanna cost anybody more money, I just didn't know if the city had difference, and it just goes away, but the city pays it. If, yeah,
We can certainly check into it.
I'll double check for you, Bill.
okay, thank you.
I got a question, Greg. You're looking at page 84. You got lots 25B, 26A, and 26B. Now, how come 2 houses can share 26B?
26B.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a good question. The lots may have been consolidated once
No,
already.
it's just off, the lines are always off from what's real.
Yeah.
You
All
can
right.
move those to the, about 25 feet to south.
Yeah, if you're in the assessor's office,
Yeah.
absolutely they're off.
Okay,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just curious about that. Thank you.
yeah. Is there any other discussion? Could I entertain a motion to read Bill 4580 for the second time in title only, suspend the rules?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Who was the second? I thought he was the first. Oh, you were the first, okay. Make sure I get it right.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Madam Clerk, would you read Bill 4580 for the second time in title only?
Bill number 4580, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the plat of Tanglewood Estates, Plat 3, Lot 24C, and establishing an effective date. Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Councilman Weiner.
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Councilman Tennant.
Yep.
Councilman Gray.
Yes,
Councilman Cook.
Yes.
Bill 4580 has passed. We have Bill 4581 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4581, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, vacating an easement located on lots 24A and 24B, Masters Drive, as described in Exhibit A attached here to, and establishing an effective date.
This is tied to the previous bill. This vacates the easement that runs between lots A and B. City does not have any utilities in there. There are no utilities in there. We do not plan to use that easement in the future.
Is there any discussion of this, of Bill 4581? I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4581 for the second time in title only.
So moved.
Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded.
Brian.
All in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4581 for the second time in title only?
Bill number 4581, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, vacating an easement located on lots 24A and 24B, Masters Drive, as described in Exhibit A attached hereto, and establishing an effective date. Councilman Cook?
Yes.
Councilman Tenen?
Yes.
Councilman Dennis?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Weiner?
Yes.
Councilman Boyer?
Aye.
Bill 4581 has passed. New business.
We have a request from the Festus Senior Class of 2020 to do some fireworks as part of a modified graduation ceremony. They have approval from the fire marshal and coordinated with police and fire department as far as lining everyone up and firing everything off. I think you've seen this for a number of school districts in the area. I think Windsor most recently did this.
I gotta make a comment on something here. I feel sorry for all these classes that just graduated. I mean, they're not getting to do hardly anything that they normally would be doing, with proms and all kinds of stuff, so. Yeah, I don't see any problem at all with this here.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve the request from the Festus Senior Class of 2020.
One question.
One question, go ahead, Bill.
Is this the football field? I assume? Is this where it's gonna be, football?
What's that,
field?
Bill?
Is it gonna be at the football field?
Yes.
Yeah, I have no problem, but I just wanted to ask you, I remember years ago we moved it because neighbors were saying that it was hitting their shingles. Are we exempt from that, then we're gonna be exempt from that and stuff?
They got a pyrotechnic license company doing it.
Oh, they did, when the school did it before. They had
Yeah.
professionals doing it.
Yeah,
I'm just, but the city's okay is all I'm asking, because before it was moved because of that.
I know the fire marshals inspected whatever their plan is for the fireworks. So Greg signed off on it, and we've got Chief Kramer and Chief Lewis that feel comfortable with their plan as well.
Okay, no problem. I know it wasn't them though, it never was ours, it was the neighbors that.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's my only question.
once again, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor of approving the request by the Senior Class of 2020, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Water service fees and disconnects.
I wanted to start the conversation. Obviously, we suspended disconnects in March in conjunction with the president and the governor's order. At some point, we're going to need to resume normal operations. Related to that, we would propose for your consideration tonight that we give plenty of notice to do this. Being able to hit the July Festus focus, and then resuming normal operations as far as late fees and disconnects in the month of August. But just throwing that out there for discussion.
Question for you, sir.
Yeah.
Is there any payment plan discussions for those who are,
Payment plans are, I think, will probably operate the same. If we do anything, we extend them an extra 30 days, which would give someone 120 days. Right now, you can get up to 90 days per ordinance as far as a payment plan. I think we can certainly give another 30 days if someone's got it, especially if you have a pretty large bill.
Greg, I have a question.
Yeah,
The way we are being reimbursed for some expenses while this is going on, would there be any way for us to be reimbursed by loss of income from our water income from the pandemic?
now, lost revenue, whether it's sales tax revenue or water system operations revenue, under the guidance from the Treasury Department does not qualify.
Okay, thank you.
I will say this in fairness, the number of our lates and the amount that are late dollar-wise is pretty consistent. We haven't had a huge spike during all this. The number that we typically see during non-COVID related, so say back January and February, it's about $5,000 residential and commercial combined, somewhere between 4,800 and 5,200 on fees and things of that sort. So that stayed consistent through this. We haven't had a huge spike in people that have been late on their bills or having difficulty with their bills, which I guess is a blessing. I think it's safe to start to have the conversation because the data is telling us that there's not a lot of people struggling necessarily to do this right now.
Greg, I have one more comment, please.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a good thing to look at for the future, but everything being equal, if things subside and they continue to subside, I would support this. But if we get any spikes or anything later during that time period, I would not support it because of the health issue of sanitation and cleanliness during that time period.
The focus where we would begin to announce the rollback would be the July issue. So we have a full month ahead of us to look at where this takes us, if there's any spikes, and certainly plenty of time, at least 2 meetings by council between now and then to take a look at, and if we want to push it back a month or 2, I think the one thing that we've talked about through this whole thing is it's a fluid situation. We need to be flexible, but we also need to plan, or at least plan a plan, and want to at least kind of have a rough idea of a spot on the calendar where we can start resuming normal operations as far as the water department is concerned.
I would agree that we need a plan, and I support that.
So, by consent, if everyone's comfortable with that, the idea then would be to make the announcement in July that we would resume normal water service operations in the month of August.
my only request is could we get updated numbers? Because here's my concern. The federal unemployment runs out in July and there's talk of them not renewing it. So to me, that's when income's gonna change. I don't think right now we're seeing much of an income difference. So that's the only concern I have. If we can probably keep fluid and keep updated numbers.
The numbers I gave you are through May,
Okay.
basically, our May billing. I don't have June yet, obviously, so,
Sure.
but I'll keep you up to date, and if we start to see a spike in late accounts, especially as we get closer to July, that's great.
We need a plan.
Sure.
I agree.
Is there any interest from anyone of waiving the late fees?
I would be in favor of that.
What's that again?
I would be in favor of waiving late fees, yes.
As part of that discussion, I just wanted to, throw out some options to us. We talked about that's about $4,800 to $5,200 in residential commercial revenue, if you want to look at it that way, each month. For those who have paid their late fees, a waiver of the fees would need to be addressed, because would those people receive a reimbursement if we're going to waive them for those who have not paid? So that's a question. The other part is, do we want to just flat out waive them? Do we want to do that based on economic hardship? Do we not want to do it at all, and kind of see where we are in August and September as far as the number of delinquent accounts? I think there's, or pieces in between there. I think there's several ways of looking at it. Just sweep them off across the board, see where that gets us, base it on economic data, make them say apply for forgiveness, or just continue with the policy as it is. And when we go back to our normal service, then we would begin to enforce the rules again.
How about a hardship policy, for the future too? So proven a hardship, pending the council's approval or something of that nature, that we have some way to say, no, we're not going to shut your water off. That you have a hardship, we could have some sort of policy. And then at that point, you could possibly look at writing it off.
I know a number of communities that have set up programs, not necessarily related to COVID, that give residents the opportunity to essentially, they can prove an economic hardship. Someone's out of work, someone's out on a long-term disability issue, that if they can present the financial data that the city can review, it's not uncommon to have situations like that. I know it's certainly worth considering if we want to do it all.
Yeah, that way you could establish consistency with hardships. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they may be, we go to the hardship part of it and say, okay, everybody, we treat them all the same. So seems like that'd give us a little bit more protection. Plus, we're standing up in the corner of someone not shutting their water off because they're having a hard time.
Hey, Kevin, you think it'd be a good idea if we have Greg come up with a plan and bring it to us? Because I could probably have a million questions on it. I wonder if it's best if you come up with.
I can get just the framework.
What popped in my head is if we grant a hardship.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like Mike said, I think the future's coming. When the checks quit coming, then we might have a whole different situation. The last thing we want to be on the news shutting somebody's water off after a pandemic.
And if everyone's comfortable with that, it would be something that I bring back to you, a policy. We have a couple of months to kick it around and see if we have the framework. Let me finish my sentence, Bill.
I am. I didn't say anything. I just held up so you.
What's that?
I said I didn't say anything. I just held up so you wanted to ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's a good idea, what Kevin said and everything. I just think you should handle it. I don't want to get it on the political side where we decide.
Yeah. I think it should be handled administratively. And that's the way we have it now, as I'm sure Bill's aware. When we have people that need payment arrangements, that's something that's brought to me. And we set them up on payment plan. We're allowed to go up to 90 days. And I think since I've been here, and in any instance that we've had where people have asked for that kind of assistance, we've been able to provide it to them based on, obviously their account history, whether they've had problems in the past. That's something that we're able to take a pretty quick look at and determine whether or not we need to give them a payment plan. And I think we could probably set something up along that same lines with a hardship policy as well.
Yeah, good. That's a good thinking, Bill.
Is everyone in agreement that we'll revisit this? Is that what you'd like to do, Greg?
So yeah, I'll keep you posted on our delinquents to date. We'll probably do that the last meeting in June, since I'll have a full month's worth of data to add on to what we have. But it sounds like, based on what Mike's saying, and that is true with the unemployment, unless they extend it, that extra $600 is going to roll off, and the July numbers might look a lot different. So we can certainly look at it. And I'll craft something as far as a policy. hardship for us to look at in the future. Is everyone good with that?
Everybody good with that?
Yes, sir.
That's the way we'll do it. Old business.
Scheduling. So, I wish we could say that the governor was going to have a plan for us today. Stuart Haynes with the Missouri Municipal League did speak to Kayla Hahn, the governor's policy director. They will have an announcement on phase 2 tomorrow. The delay has been data-driven. They've been concentrating on hospitalization rates, obviously putting a bind on cities and businesses. Very sympathetic to the difficulty waiting. Said they're watching the data, really can't make the call in which direction reopening goes until they have that. So if we're waiting on the state to give us phase 2 of their plan, it's not going to come until at least tomorrow. I think all of us have kind of been able to see and feel where we're at right now. I've thrown some different ideas at you guys as far as a reopening in late June, reopening in earlier June, a staggered build-in, or should we just go ahead and get back to work on next Monday? Before we get into all that, I think we're all in agreement, and unless somebody tells me otherwise, opening the playgrounds and the restrooms can happen on Monday, June 1st. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Are restrooms going to have increased sanitation?
Obviously, they will have, we'll pay closer attention to them, working on some foggers or sprayers or sanitation bombs. Brian, I know you mentioned that to me last week. These aerosol cans that you can set off and they sit and run for about 5 minutes and they fog the whole room. It's kind of like a bug bomb, but it's a disinfectant bomb. So we would look to be able to implement that as soon as materials are available to us.
Will there be increased sanitation in the form of hand cleansers at the playground areas?
As soon as we can get the material, yes.
Okay.
Anything related to disinfectant, whether it's hand sanitizer, whether it's just Lysol, whether it's wipes, spray, buy it in bulk, sprayers that you use other than just say a garden sprayer, which is what we may end up using, because we can get a hold of those. The foggers are more expensive and they're harder to acquire right now.
So, Greg, how do we control, by just opening the parks wide open, how do we control some social distancing in the parks?
We have signage in the parks now.
But I mean, is anybody gonna monitor that, or? I just don't want it to happen like it happened like the Ozarks, where, you know, you got every pavilion out there is, you know, wide open with people. That kind of scares me.
We're very dependent on personal responsibility.
I know.
And as far as being able to, you know, check someone's temperature, with all the entry points and the number of parks that we have. And again, to reiterate, the parks have been open. It's the playgrounds and the restrooms have been closed. Being able to regulate that, the manpower that would be needed, is just not a resource that we have.
Well, I think as long as we get signage and I guess, like I said, it's gonna be all about, being responsible. Although, you know, if we have a whole parking lot full of people, then we got issues.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a good idea for it, so I just want to bring it.
I think if there's been one thing that we've heard about more than anything else, in certainly the last 3 weeks, has been when are the bathrooms in the park's going to open up. We will do our level best to make sure that they're clean and sanitized on a regular schedule. they are set and ready to go. They've been obviously cleaned and sanitized and set up and been ready for some time now. But it's just at what point do we say, it is obviously something that the public uses, especially out of West City. You go for a walk, finding the bathroom open is probably a good thing. So, again, council's discretion. But I think I'd like to get that one, let's just get that one out of the way, and then we can talk about getting back to work. If everyone's comfortable.
Greg, I'd like to ask a question, please.
Yeah.
So back to the bathroom situation, because I think that's really a possible source of contamination for a lot of people. And I think that's why I keep going back to this and kind of harping on a little bit. But increased expenses with this COVID time period. This is obviously not a revenue source to pay for extra cleanings or to have extra help in those parks. So if we are going to be reimbursed, is it possible to have more manpower involved with that we would be compensated for and still have a higher level of safety with that?
If it's a non-budgeted item, it's something that under the Treasurer's guidelines, the U.S. Treasury Department, it would be potentially reimbursable. So the extra sanitizer, the extra, the disinfectant bombs or the sprayers and things of that sort, those are expenses that would qualify under this. Additional manpower, it would be a reappropriation of existing manpower unless you went out and got something above and beyond what you budgeted for personnel. So either you added a person just for that, and that's a non-budgeted item, or you added a lot of overtime, and that was a non-budgeted item. They're going to be real strict on this, whether or not the city anticipated having people doing some of these tasks to begin with, to stay away from a revenue replacement angle, I think, more than anything else.
Right, but if this is a dedicated person for this dedicated job because of this special and unique situation that we're in, I think that from my point of view, hiring an extra person or two or whatever it would take to keep those areas safe and clean would be backed by me if there's a high degree, even if there's not a high degree of probability that you would be compensated for, because I think those would be relatively low paying jobs. I don't obviously know the budget, what that would come to for, say, 4 months, 5 months of increased man hours with that. But I think it's something that really should be considered, because if I just feel like those bathrooms could really be a problem, a unique problem area.
We could roll that possibly into some additional summer help. Just a thought. Yeah, Bill?
Brian, on a CDC, they surprisingly had bathrooms not in the upper, in the bottom, which shocked me. Go on that site. It was hair places, nails, supermarkets, department stores, and bathrooms shocked me, were way down the list as where you would get it. I was surprised. That's the only question I have on that.
I'd like to look that up, Bill, and confirm that myself, because it's really counterintuitive to have everything associated with a bathroom that would not be a problem.
I think the CDC also changed their expectations on contamination as well. On
How
we
long
contact
lasts our
services.
services?
Yeah, that all got changed.
A lot of people carry around due to this.
What do we want to make a decision on opening the bathrooms and the playground areas?
I say open.
Say open.
Open them.
I need a motion for that, please.
I'll make a motion to open the playgrounds and restrooms effective June 1st. That's Monday, right, Greg?
Next Monday.
Motion's been made and seconded to open the restrooms and the playground equipment on June 1st. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries.
Okay.
Now,
So-
let's talk about schedules.
Let's talk about schedules. We've kicked around a bunch of different ideas, guys, so one thing I did want to throw in to this, because I think we're all in agreement that as far as the lobbies are concerned, we need to delay that at least a couple more weeks. Regarding that, the library's itching to get back to work. Elizabeth has lined out a very good curbside program that would allow patrons to pull up. They'll have 4 marked spots out front. They'll call into the library, tell them which car they're in. Their order will have already been placed into a single-use bag, taken out, placed in the trunk of the vehicle, and help us get the library back going again. So it certainly gives us the ability to start transitioning them back to normal operations. I would also like to start that on the 1st of June, if no one is in a disagreement with that.
Why would we not, or I don't know, why couldn't we do that here? Call in, can I come in and say, can I come in and ask the question? I'm just curious why that would be safe there and not here.
There's no reason why it couldn't be done, Bill, other than it's a very specific transaction at the library. They get their order in for books, the books are put in a bag, the bag goes out, and the exchange is done. With here and Public Works, and certainly at the police station, it's more transactional, it's more conversational, it's trying to find out, do you need paperwork for this, that, or the other thing, whether it's a business license renewal. So I'm not saying it can't be done. It could be. It's just it would present more challenges because it's not item specific. Obviously, when someone calls the library, they're wanting to check out some books or a book on tape. But we can get to that. I want to discuss the program as far as the curbside with the libraries. Is everyone comfortable with the idea of the ladies obviously there being able to fill curbside orders? There would be very minimal contact with the public, but it would get the library rolling again. And we'd like to kick that in on June 1st.
Yes.
Greg, what's wrong with just allowing so many people to come in and social distancing?
Well, we talked about that. Because of the use areas at the library, and we have looked at a number of different plans related to computer usage, reference usage, the kind of the cafe area up front where people usually just sit and they get on Wi-Fi. It's kind of a mixed bag with how long someone's going to be in there, with the square footage restrictions. As long as someone is in there and you reach your max limit, you're not able to bring any more people into the library. It also puts the librarians in the position of having to kind of do what they do at Home Depot, which is, okay, you've got to wait outside until somebody leaves the building. We can do that, but it gets our employees into a kind of a gatekeeper situation at that point.
Greg, I'd like to make a comment, please.
Have at it.
So on the library, I think a reason that a lot of people are in the library is to use the Wi-Fi. And rather than have people, such a large percentage of the people in there using Wi-Fi, if we could extend that Wi-Fi area out farther into the parking lots so that there could be a better, higher strength signal out there with some benches, tables, chairs, whatever, for people to use that outdoors, I think that might be a way to kind of alleviate some of the density inside and yet still keep that area useful to a lot of people that need it.
Brian emailed me on this earlier. and since he's brought it up, I'll comment only in the concern over loitering. If we extend the Wi-Fi in the parking lot, the number of people that will be in the parking lot, not necessarily for library use, but for Wi-Fi use, could increase. We have had instances with folks that have decided to camp out outside of the library because there are electrical outlets there. And if you extend the Wi-Fi outside the building, you may have an increased problem with that. It's just something to take into consideration.
You think if they have Wi-Fi, then people are gonna set campers up there because of the Wi-Fi?
Not campers, Bill. Basically, vagrants have at times, certainly as recent as last year, have made at least a daily encampment outside of the library, typically around the book drop, because there's an outlet out there. So that would just be a concern from more of a security standpoint. I think it's probably a low risk, high reward situation, with Brian's point, to allowing people that could just pull onto the parking lot and be able to tap into the city's Wi-Fi at that point. We would obviously need to make some upgrades to the system that's there currently, there's no doubt.
My only comment, my only thing I'd like to say is that we have a recommendation from the director of the library on how she wants to handle these books and getting the library back into use. And it's my opinion that we should consider her idea of how to do it, because she does run the library and she's well aware of all those things.
Thanks for the work, I'm sure she's put some time into
She
it.
sure has.
And that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
is She has a plan, and
Right.
maybe that's the direction I'd like to see people go to, is not be closed-minded on, everything in the city's gonna be closed based on this. We get the library doing this, so I think every department needs a plan of action, I think, or something similar to get us going again. Because, I mean, I'm looking at it like, what you said, well, go, Greg, Home Depot's doing this, well, that's all over with now. I mean, Home Depot's open.
Oh, it's free for all now, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, I think it's time for the city to get moving on.
Jim, I was gonna, once everybody's done, because I respect everybody's opinion, and we all have loved ones that could be affected by this. And I talked to Greg, I really did my best to think about this. Once everybody's done discussion, I was gonna make a motion effective June 1st. Our employees return back to work in City Hall, Public Works, and the Parks Department, back to the normal schedules. However, with that, follow the county, what Jefferson County, not Health Department, government's doing, is supervisors are doing daily temperature checks. Anybody 100.4 is sent home. They require social distancing, period. It's not subjective. Everybody understands it came from the county council. If you are required to break social distance regulations or rules with employees, you're required to have a mask. They provide us with a mask. We still stay closed to the public for at least till June 15th. That way we're back to work, the employees are back to work, and we're getting life back to normal. I was just gonna wait till the very end, because I still wanna stay open-minded on this, but as of now, that was gonna be my motion. Whether it got seconded, whether we discussed it, that was just gonna be what I was gonna offer to the council. And just talk about it.
I agree with that totally, Mike.
I do too.
What do you guys think, though, some businesses have put signs on the windows saying, for everybody's protection, if you're entering, wear a mask and gloves. And that way business is as usual. We don't have to let people in if they're not wearing masks.
The one area where that's probably the largest concern would be at the library and at Public Works. Now we are in the process of installing some shields in Public Works. That's again more for the employees' protection than it is for the public's. I think, a lot of what we've done so far is try to protect our employees, because if we lose a department, we're out of business. If we lose our street department, our water sewer department, our police department, that's a big deal. So a lot of the protections that we're taking have been to protect our employees. I think because there's really no easy way, not even a hard way, to put that type of protection at the library, the curbside program is a good compromise, at least for the next couple of weeks. Having everybody come in on their regular schedules, whether you decide to do it, on the 1st or the 8th or the 15th, I know will be welcome because, if there's one thing that's proved of this is that we've got people that want to work, and the best way to prove that is to tell them that they can't, because after a while of telling them they can't, they start to itch a little bit and they want to get back to work. So at the end of the day, whether we decide to do this next Monday or a week or 2 weeks after, I think as long as we can sit there and say that we're just looking out for our staff, because of especially in some departments, the critical services they provide, and we can do our best to put protections in place to address that. I think holding off on the public being able to enter the facilities, especially the ones that are high traffic, and by that's the library and the Public Works Department, would give us time to, we don't have the forehead temperature checkers, we don't have those. Would give us time to get some of that equipment if council would want us to proceed with a policy where we would be checking people upon entry. We can do that.
I'd like to see us just do it for employees like we do at the county. But I just want to make sure everybody understands this is coming from the council, and I really want this followed. Not throwing stones at anybody. I think a couple of councilmen spoke on the past. Occasionally you'll see workers in the city and there's no PPE, there's not much social distancing. So I want them to understand when we come back, if my motion carries, I want everything followed as the holy grail. And if they don't follow it, there needs to be basically some type of consequences.
It's in the pandemic plan, Mike. I mean, the pandemic plan we adopted back in April, the PPP plan.
I know, but I've seen employees though not follow it, is what I'm trying to say, without being as blunt as saying it. But I have. I think if you guys probably would say the same thing, when you drive around town and see people working, if you're less than 6 feet, somebody needs a mask. And I know it's hard, I know it sucks, but it's the day we live in. Not everybody's required to be a mask. That's kind of misunderstood. But if there's 2 of you and one's in a hole and you're right there by them, put a mask on. Or if there's 2 guys in the truck, one needs a mask.
Mike, I agree with you too. I trust employees. I don't think it's brain thing that they can't do it. I think they can do it. I got way more trust than a lot of people here like, no. Right now, 15 are coming back and forth to Public Works. 15. Nobody got it. Somebody could get it, because when you leave there, it's a crapshoot, but we can't control that. So they're going back and forth. We can work 15. I look at towns, I've called a few towns that only have 15 Public Works employees. They're all going back and forth. They didn't go to 7, and the people that got 100 didn't go to 50. You're still going to have that slight chance, and it is slight. But the main thing I got to say is I do trust the guy. Everybody I worked with, if they haven't been following it, then we haven't been doing our job the last 3 or 4 months. If they haven't been doing it at all, it's our fault. Everybody here. So apparently they have, but now if they have, then we can trust them.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm sorry, Bill, to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So I agree that we need a plan, just like Mike is saying. And I, yeah, I mean, we have been fortunate collectively, and I think fortunate is the key word, because there have been random times when I've been out running and I've noticed workers in closer proximity than 6 feet, working hard, no mask on, and so I mean, yeah, there in retrospect, I mean, you can do 2020 hindsight and say, yeah, we should have done this, blah blah blah. My problem going forward though is when I see something like the Lake of the Ozarks, and I have no idea what type of contact city workers, um, relatives, sons, daughters, whoever it may have been out there. And if in an area that large, if there's anything, and I'm not speaking out of fear. I do want to say that this is not out of fear. This is just being objective and looking at the situation and not wanting people to get sick. So from my point of view, um, I would prefer to wait a couple weeks and reinitiate those working schedules. Then I can, if we were to do something sooner, um, I would really like to have written policies down that would be distributed to everyone so that they would make sure that they understand what actions need to be taken, and if those actions aren't taken, what the possible penalty could be. So, you know, I just don't want any miscommunications if we do go forward with this. But I would personally prefer um, to play it safer for a couple more weeks, and to ride it out for that amount of time.
Brian, do you think we should not enforce, but maybe as a council and the mayor ask all these businesses to slow it down, because we're worried about all the people if one person gets it. So it should be for everybody or just a select few on the safety?
I'm not
Well,
sure I understand your
we
question,
we
Bill.
can't control the safety other than our employees, Bill. We can't control what Lowe's does or Home Depot. I hear a lot of things I like, and I like what Jim said about we have these supervisors that run these departments. They should be actively involved with a plan to go back to work as soon as it's safe and possible. I like what Mike says. I mean, there's guidelines out there. We have some guidelines, but the bottom line is that there's two people in a car, both of them need to be wearing masks, because a mask is to protect the person next to you. So we have to use the guidelines, but this is not going to go away. We're eventually going to have to go back to work. But the supervisors, Matt and we're a little shy in the park right now, but just like the library did, they come up with a plan. They work with the city administrator on how we can get back to work, be it Monday or 2 weeks. I don't know that I care as long as it's safe, but we only can ensure so much safety. You know, if people are going to go somewhere and get in a swimming pool next to each other, I don't know that we're going to be able to do anything about it. We need to reiterate: do not come to work if you're sick. Do not. These guidelines are out there. You know, we just have to follow them. But I do think Matt needs to tell us what he needs, what the plan is, you know, so we can move this forward. And I like a lot of things Jim said. I like a lot of things Matt said. We can't control what other people are doing. We're in charge of the city and our people. That's it. I don't know who's making bad decisions, or you want to say that thing like the Ozark was intrinsically motivated. Because if it wasn't, he would have said, "You guys got to go. I got to close. We're breaking the rules," and I didn't see that. So all we can control is our little part of the world. But like Mike said, he's got a good plan, and you know, and it's based off what the county health department has set up a few rules and regulations. But like I said, I think we need to look for the future and start getting some of these sprayers where we can sanitize the vehicles and the quarters where they have to go get their assignment. Somebody needs to wipe them down with a little bit of bleach and water, 1 to 10. It's real simple. Spray it on the table, wipe it down, wipe the computers. This is the world we live in, folks. This ain't going to be the last one of these. So I think we need to move forward and get a plan and get it going.
I agree, and I trust our employees to follow the mask. I trust our.
Oh yeah. I don't think we have to come up with special punishment. The punishment is you get it, you could die. You know, and nobody's immune to it. So, but I mean, once again, respiratory droplets. They've kind of got away from, on surfaces. It can live on surfaces, but you got to stick your hand in it, stick in your eye, your mouth, your nose, hand washing. I can't believe we got to tell people to wash their hands, so, and maybe the EOC can help out with hand sanitizer and things of that nature. That's their role in the county. This being deemed an emergency, they're supposed to help supply the municipalities or help them get resources. So that's something we need to use. I don't know where we're at with masks and all that, but you can get some longevity out of those by throwing them in the oven on low for a few minutes or in a microwave, metal in them. So we've kind of got a plan in place. But Matt needs to be involved, and I'm sure he is, but he needs to be involved and say, hey, look, I think we can go back to work, and this is how we're going to do it. This is what you guys can do and can't do. This is what you better be doing. We got to take this serious because we're setting an example. That's where we do set an example. We're the city, and we have rules, and we're going to follow. So I agree with Bill. Our guys, we set them down, they'll do it. So
Let me just say this, guys, in fairness to all the department heads, is they have been incredibly flexible in developing a constantly changing plan. When we were in the month of March, looking at April, and then looking at May, and now looking at June, we've had to constantly update this about it every day, and really making them aware of your policy making tonight will determine what plan we implement moving forward, which is it the June 1st one? Is it the June 15th one? Is it the June 22nd one? Is it the June 29th one? We have all that discussed, set, and ready to go. It's just, what direction do you want us to go? Yeah, Dave.
And back to the library thing, I think that you got started, I think we need to go with her game plan. We discussed that enough that I believe she knows what's happening down there, and I think it's like Sam said, she's the one that's the department head down there. She's thought this through, she feels that that'll work. So I think we ought to be backing her on that.
yeah. What does Matt think about all this, Greg? Does he have a plan to reopen or?
Yeah, no, I mean, and let me say this, the plan to reopen the library is unique. The plan to open the other departments is certainly not like the plan to open the library. So the plan that we have is, are we going to go still with staggered shifts? Are we going to go back with the full enchilada? And on what date are we going to do that? And that's the plan, is really just waiting for the legislative body of the city of Festus to give us a go date.
Greg, the problem I have with it though is we're trying to keep our employees safe. We don't know what our employees do after hours. So the thing of it is if you guys, I just was in a meeting before I got here, and the guy I was meeting with said, let me shake your hand. I don't believe in all this. Well, so I don't care what you say.
I think you have to go back to what Bill said, is that we have to trust our employees.
You've got a handful of people that are going to believe in that and take that as the rule, but then you're going to have other people that will be in your space and everything else, and somehow we have to have some guidance on our employees just as well as we do to individuals walking through that.
Sure, and that's what the pandemic preparedness plan that we adopted, okay, that was distributed to every single department back in March, okay? That discussed specific workplace actions, okay? Things you're supposed to do and not do while you're at work and while you're not at work, that we ask you, we can't enforce, but we ask you to practice the same policy that we have some control over when you're at work, which is wash your hands, wear a mask, use hand sanitizer, okay? Socially distance. All those things are things that are in that plan. And that's our policy now, okay? When we enacted that policy, and we determined by the ordinance that we passed in late March, that this was an emergency situation, we activated that plan. So that's been what's been in place since, March 23rd or whatever the date was, okay?
But I'm still, let me ask you guys this. If you go through a drive-through fast food store, or fast food, whatever you call it, if the person that's handing you your food, doesn't have a mask on, how do you feel about that?
They get the best.
What's the distance?
Well,
What's the distance? This disease is spread through respiratory droplets.
Well,
So is there a chance you could get a droplet in your eyes, nose, mouth?
we're talking about,
Less contaminable because of the acid in your stomach. So that's look at your iPad after you get on using it. You'll see droplets where if you're talking to other folks, that's how this disease is spread. There's not a lot of, other than it can live on surfaces of touching, putting your hand in your eye. It's just a good practice not to. Colds, anything else, but this is a droplet-related disease, like most flus and pneumonias and things of that nature. So that's where you want to eliminate the groups, close contact. You're sitting by a guy driving. We all spit when we talk. He's got it or is positive for it. Yes, there's a chance it could go in your eyes, your nose, your mouth, where it can be reabsorbed, get to your lungs, and then you have a possibility of getting the disease. The disease is not as contagious as measles or mumps. That's the number one. This is like in the number 2 area. So, we have the education, we have the plan. I still think what we need to know is Matt ready to put that plan to work? Can he be ready by Monday? That's my question.
Can I interject something here? I talked to Matt this morning. He called me this morning. We talked about some issues. I think I'm like Mike. I think we want to get the guys back to work Monday. Okay. Some of the plan is have an A and B shift. Work the A shift Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. B shift Thursday, Friday. Following week, you rotate.
That is one of the options we looked at.
Right, and that's not a bad plan for a while. I think that'd be a pretty good plan for a while.
If I may interject.
Sure meeting, sir.
I would feel much more comfortable about getting back to work if we did this 3 days, 2 days, that what Dave just talked about, for another 2 weeks. And then come back, then see how things go. I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen. The state has opened some things up. We've opened some things up here. The county's opened up. We don't know for sure whether we're gonna have a second round that's gonna be as bad as this first round. But I would feel more comfortable if we eased our way into bringing everybody back, rather than on June 1st, open the whole thing up.
So you're saying for like 2 weeks?
Just 2 weeks, go with the
AB plan.
AB plan for 2 weeks, but it's still, we still have people come to work 5 days a week. And then July 15th or June 15th. If everything goes well, we have nobody getting sick, everybody's working well. And let's go back to our regular working hours and our regular working shifts. But we do have to stress to our supervisors and to the workers that, just as we've discussed, if it's two people riding around in a truck, they both need to have a mask on.
There you
And as far as your last statement, Jim, if I go through a drive-through and it's somebody that doesn't have a mask on handing me some, I don't care for that. And I'm one who has some of these underlying, just as Brian does, has these underlying health problems that if I catch it, you know, it could be real, it could be fatal, not real fatal, but fatal. But anyway, getting back to the whole thing we're talking about, I would prefer, because I have to answer to all 12,000 of people in this city, I would prefer that we ease our way in by doing the 3 and 2 and the 2, you know, that A-B shift, and get us back to having people here 5 days a week. And then in June 15th, go strictly to open it up. Everybody comes back to work. I'm still not comfortable with opening these foyer doors here or at down at 5th Street to the general public. But by that time, by June 15th, we may be able to do that. The cases are on the decline. We haven't had any problems here in the city. Then we can do that on June 15th and make things work. But that's my feelings. That's what I would like to see us do. Whatever you all decide to do is what is your thing. Yes, sir.
I think that's probably what the council will go with, but you realize that's only adding 2 days a month. That's pretty slow movement, because they're working 2 days a week, 2, 2, 2, it'll be 2, 3, 2, 3. So it's extra 2 days every 30 days. That's fine, but that is, to me, it's such a small move that I don't think it'd make that much a difference, is all. 2/30ths. 2/30ths are opening up. It's so small. If we stayed on that schedule, we'd be 2 years, you know, if we gradually went back that slow. That's all. It's.
So you're saying
Like I
basically,
say in June.
open it up all the way.
A month. And so that isn't gonna make that much difference, but you'll get a lot more back to normal.
Well, okay, it'd be 2 days out of the 20 that people work.
They work 2, 2, 2, 2, it'll be 2, 3, 2, 3, so 2 extra days a month.
It'd be 2 extra days out of 10.
I don't think it matters how soon you come back to work. If you have people enforcing rules, that's what's gonna take. If
Yep.
everything's gonna be lax and you got 2 guys riding around a pickup truck, no mask, no nothing, nothing's gonna get any better.
Yep.
So again, it goes back to what I've said to my guys. If you guys are out, screwing around, going to parties, going to Lake the Ozarks, I don't want you around. And I can't control what they do. And we can't control what our employees do. So if I'm working behind counter at the city, and I got a guy that's coming in or that works for the city as well, and he's contagious because he's not doing the right thing at night, but yet he's talking, spitting at me or whatever, then I'm not protected.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if we're working 2 days, 3 days, or whatever, if we're not following our rules, and we don't know if we're gonna be able to follow the rules because we don't have any rules in effect as far as how we're gonna handle bringing everybody back.
Greg, did you mean they're working 2?
No,
Now.
under the proposal that the mayor
But
suggested.
the 2,
It
3,
would be-
3,
it
2,
would
the
be-
one we just talked about, the 2, 3, 3, 2.
Right.
If you work 2 days and
It's 10
3, or 3 and
days.
2, that's fine.
It's 10 total days, Bill.
10 days, 1 extra day, not 2.
2, because you get the 2 Fridays.
Okay, if I work 2 days this week, I'm on the 2 schedule. How many did I work this week? 2. If I work 3 next week, is that not 5? That's not 6. Or if I work the 3, then the 2, it's still 5. It's not 6. It's
Jim, to your comment, I guess the policy that we have is limited by our sphere of influence, which is we can control what our employees do while they're at work.
That's it.
And that's it.
That's it.
And at the same time, it goes back to the earlier discussion we had about the bathrooms and the playgrounds, is it boils down to personal responsibility. And that if you've been in if you were in one of the pool parties at Lake of the Ozarks,
Didn't make it.
maybe you shouldn't come to work on Monday, okay? Especially if you were in a situation where, and as soon as you find out, if you were in a situation where, then you probably need to self-quarantine. It does open up the possibility, obviously, you know, I keep calling it contact points, where the possibility of an employee coming in contact with another employee under what we've been doing so far has been limited because we've split them into different shifts. When things open up, people get excited, they want to go places, they want to do things. You know, we still have restrictions on what they're able to do at work, but outside of that, there's not a lot of huge restrictions. I mean, granted, if they wanted to put in for a trip to Disney World, you know, part of that policy does subject that trip to an administrative review by me.
Well, Greg, let me interrupt you for a minute. So I read on here that you're gonna go on a vacation, and I'm not.
I have a trip scheduled, yes, I do.
Okay, so maybe you ought to self-quarantine yourself for 2 weeks when you get back.
That's always a possibility.
But you see what I'm getting at?
I see what you're
I'm
saying.
not hammering anybody about this. It's a business responsibility. And I don't care what anybody in this room says, people are gonna do what they wanna do. I mean, personally, I don't wanna go out to a restaurant and eat, but they're all open and they're all full,
Right.
so people are doing it. All you gotta do is drive around in the last week, and there's more people moving around.
Sure.
And so it's like, it's inevitable that we're all probably gonna get it regardless, because everything's opened up and moving around.
Yeah.
But I don't see how working 2 days a week or 3 days a week is gonna change anything unless our employees are very serious about not wanting to get this virus. And again, you can't stop them from going out and enjoying themselves.
If I may, because I want to sit back and the body, and again, I value everybody's opinion on this, but Brian Weiner and myself have already pointed out, we've already had a few small issues. We got to address that, but I am going to make the motion that we return to work June 1st. We stay close to the public. We follow all social distance requirements. If the employees are less than 6 feet, it's mandated they wear a mask. I want supervisors to be doing daily temperature checks. Anybody at 100.4 will be sent home. With my motion, though, I want to point out, we kind of have a working model already in place that I think we're forgetting about. The county's been doing this now for 3 weeks, and it's working very well. We still stay close to the public, but this is my transition. And my transition means, let's do this, let's see how it works. Then on June 15th, let's talk about slowly opening back up to the public. But that's my motion I'm making as of right now.
Can you amend your motion or add to your motion how you would like to handle the opening of the library? You want to do the curbside program?
Exactly how the library director, I was treating this as two separate issues.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
But if the mayor's okay, I'll be more than happy to amend my motion and follow the library director's recommendation on the plan she has in place.
Mike, I'd like to ask a question, Mike. You had discussed about the county, and you know, we like Jim said, we cannot control people's behaviors, and that we cannot do. And the vast majority of people are going to abide by the rules, but there may not be some that do. And weren't you saying that the county did have some sort of enforcement in effect when people violated those rules?
They do, but Greg reminded me that when we adopted our emergency plan, that there are.
Right.
I do agree.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up, Mike.
I apologize. Greg reminded me that when we adopted our plan, that there are rules and consequences that were already in place when the plan was adopted. But I do want I do want our supervisors to get something out to all the employees. And when I mean supervisors, I don't mean department heads, I mean field supervisors. This falls upon them too. The water supervisor, the sewer supervisor, the acting park supervisor. They all got a stake in this game, and they will be under the gun, in my opinion, from the council, because if I drive through town and I see an issue, I'm not gonna address the employee, that's not our place. I'm gonna point to this man right here and say, we got a problem and we better get it fixed. So yes, sir. And so Greg mentioned that there was that plan, and so that would be my motion, that we do.
We don't have the equipment to test.
We can get, I mean, we'll have to scramble.
Yeah, I think the EDC has somewhere, or now Walgreens, and we use cheap ones at Walgreens.
Yeah.
You just pop them and you just do it every day. Every day you come in, not every time you leave the building.
Yeah,
Once a
not
day when you
expensive.
come in the morning, you get popped in the head, somebody charts it, and it's documentation. And the reason I'm making that motion is not to be argumentative, because this is not one area I'm gonna argue at all, but just to give you an idea of how different thoughts of philosophy is. My wife's worked Children's Hospital. If you're exposed, you're not quarantined to your symptomatic. They're saying with the proper PPE and the mask, if you are taking them precautions, they don't do anything until you start showing signs. Then they send you home on a quarantine basis. So to kind of give you an idea of what one health provider's doing compared to others, it gives you an idea that we're still kind of in the mystery of this. However, though, I still think government's role is to put some sense of normalcy back in life, and I think it's time to do this. And if we're going to open the parks back up on Monday in the playground, let's put our employees back to work, but stay close to the public. Several items I mentioned as part of my, and that's the motion I'm making, sir.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So once again, what was the motion now, that we go to the 3-2 or full open?
No, sir, my motion was we return back to normal shifts effective June 1st. If you don't mind, Kevin, I'll repeat it. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, just so I can hear it.
Yeah, and I'll try to speak louder, I apologize. My motion was we return back to work effective June 1st. All employees return to normal shifts for the Parks Department, Public Works, and City Hall with the following requirements. Social distancing is required and maintained. If you are required to go within the social distance policy, it's mandatory you have a mask on, period. Before you start your shift, you will get a temperature check. Anybody with a temperature of 100 degrees, 0.4 is sent home. They're required to get additional testing. We'll stay closed to the public with council revisiting this on June 15th or
Whatever your next meeting.
whenever our next meeting is, to see how we're going. That's my motion.
And then obviously the caveat with the library would also go to
The director's
full
recommendation.
schedule, but the curbside.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And I think we have a second, is that correct?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion?
Yeah, what if we can't get the thermometer, and I guess when we go in to get our assignments in the morning, it'd only be 10 people at a time or less?
What we do at the county is currently, you're not allowed to swarm the door, but you have to have your mask on as soon as you get out of the car. As soon as you walk on the premise, your mask has to be on, you get your temperature taken, then you report to your assignment or to your office or to your work vehicle. The mask has to stay on, and then you begin your day. So for example, I'm gonna use Carrie as my example, because she's in front of me. Carrie has her own office. So when she hits her own office, she's no longer required to wear a mask because there's nobody around her. There's no social distance measures
Right.
violated.
Right, that makes sense.
So I would,
That will be, better than now. There's no rule on that, walking around in and out of the buildings down there, no mask, nothing. So this, even though you're working the extra couple days yourself, it is 4 days a month, but for each person, it's only 2, if we went to the split. Going back full, it's going to be safer if they follow the rules than now just going around breathing on each other.
They have to follow rules. That's
Yeah,
our job.
yes, yeah.
No,
They should be following the rules now.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I mean, that if not, I don't even know why we're talking.
exactly.
if they're not, if they're not taking it serious. What about, does Brian have anything to add, the legal wise?
I would like to say, Mike, I think your ideas are good, but from my point of view, it's just untimely. And the problem, very, very simply, is Lake of the Ozarks. If that wouldn't have happened, I would have had a considerable positive reaction to what you're saying. I most likely would have voted yes for this, but because of Lake of the Ozarks and solely Lake of the Ozarks, and I think Kevin, perhaps, talking about being able to have, today's Wednesday, we're talking about in 5 days having everything in place. I mean, if that's a possibility, that's great, but I can't vote for it very simply because Lake of the Ozarks. If this were to wait in 2 weeks, I would be for it. I think that it's a mistake to rush it, and I think everything has worked well to this point, and I think we should keep doing what we're doing. But I certainly respect it. It sounds like the rest of the council's opinion. I understand everybody's itching to get forward and get things back to normal, but I just don't think 2 weeks are worth the time to do it right now.
Well, I respect your opinion, Paul.
I understand.
I just think that our employees will do better than all those people. I do. I think they won't act like the people at Lake of the Ozarks. Maybe they will, and we can stop this right away. But I trust that they won't do that.
And Brian, I can't disagree with you, sir. I take everybody's opinion as they're right, and I can't disagree with anybody. I just feel this way because there's too many different answers out there, and I think we got to get a sense of normal back in life. So I totally understand your point. I really do.
I understand.
I would vote for the 3 and 2 because I feel like that'd give us a little more time to get things in place. I'm gonna have to go with a no on this. So I mean, I like a lot of things you're saying. I just don't know if we're quite ready to set it up properly like the county's got it yet, Mike.
I understand. I totally understand.
Like I said, I got one of those temperature guns, but it took me a couple weeks to get it unless they're out there.
My wife got one that next day delivery from Prime.
Okay, gentlemen, we have a motion on the floor. It's been made and seconded. I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
No.
Councilman Dennis,
No.
Councilman Gray,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Tennant,
Yes.
4-2.
Motion passes 4-2. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir, if I may. Greg, if we have a problem getting these medical supplies to establish this, would you please advise council and we can come up with a plan? Because I don't want everybody to come back to work on June 1st if we're not ready. So I'm kind of putting the onus on you.
Fair.
So
Yeah.
still understand that emergency, so I would think the mayor.
That makes me feel better. What Mike's saying.
Yeah, I left that off my motion. I apologize. If it's not workable, then I don't know what the next step would be, but I'm sure we can talk something, and we can figure something out. I just want to be clear. I don't want one person in this building if we're not ready.
We have a ready supply of masks. In fact, I checked with Public Works earlier today. They have about 80 masks left. We had an original allotment of 600 that we ordered when we were finally able to source some. So we'll need more masks, but we have enough to get started. And then obviously just be the temperatures, being able to do the temperatures. So from what I hear, a lot of those are back in stock in a lot of places. The later check. So we'll source a few for each of our departments, certainly for the 3 buildings in particular, Public Works here and at the library, and we'll make sure that all employees are checked upon entry.
And parks.
And parks, I'm sorry. So 4.
Yeah. Now, will they still meet in the morning? Maybe Bill could tell us, do you work there? Do they still get their assignments in the morning? Everybody comes in the building, or?
Yes. Yeah.
know, so that would have to be limited to how much space you have and how many people could get their assignment at once, I would think.
Yeah,
We'll spread them
there's
out.
plenty of room down there.
These are all doable things, you know. We still have our Zoom meeting Thursday.
Not tomorrow, because we're having our meeting tonight.
Okay.
Uh,
Alrighty.
Meeting scheduled for next week, but again, limited to the number that can participate. Obviously,
Sure.
can't have a quorum. And that's just an update for those who wish to participate. We've been doing that through the whole crisis, or most of it at least.
Any other discussion? Mark, you all have the reports in your handouts, so you can read them. Councilman Boyer.
Are we making any kind of a decision, or is this a good time to talk about superintendent of the parks?
I have a draft, updated job description. I've been reaching out to the park board president, asked him to put together a kind of ad hoc committee, for the purpose of doing that. Once we get, comment back from the park board, it would be something that will come to council at that time. I'd like park board to look at it, make suggestions, and sign off at that point. So
Yeah,
we
will
do
they
have
put
a
out a
draft.
thing for
I
the
can-
whole city?
What's that?
Will they put out a thing for like the whole city? And
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Well, I can circulate that draft to you guys. Again, it's very preliminary, but I'll make a point to send it out for you to look at tomorrow.
The other thing I've got is, when Chamber of Commerce at Kent, when they had canceled September Twin City Day, they fans about it, who usually, his crew, they run that show. And I talked to Kirk Mooney, Chamber of Commerce, and he said that if somebody wanted to put on a car show, it'd be up to them. Now, I guess Festus name would not be used, Twin City Days would not be used, anything like that. But is there a problem, Greg, with somebody wanting to put on a car show?
Well, as we talked about, Dave, if it's going to require the closure of a street, then it would just need to come to council, just like all the other street closures do. Outside of that, when we've had to date people ask us about gatherings, we've deferred to the health department. And they've provided guidance to those organizations at that time. Being that it's a fluid situation, we expect them to have probably the most up-to-date information, although we're in constant contact. In fact, exchanged emails with Kelly earlier. So there's being in a fluid situation, but if you're wanting to be able to use, Main Street or, South Second, something like that, or say part of West City Park, that would just need approval from council to be able to use the facility for that event.
Okay, well, I'll inform Jason Mans of that, because he expressed interest yesterday that he would like to do that. And a lot of people really look forward to something like that. I mean, you got your car, you got your seat, your wife sits next to you. People are going around, just walking around looking at cars. I think it's something our country needs. I think our town needs it. Really, we need some excitement going. People are getting just tired of staying at home all the time. And I think that's what happened down there at Lake the Ozarks, only it was on Memorial Day. And it looked like a whole lot of young people there. But, I think.
So how would a car show be any different, Dave, if you had things for people to look at and then a mass number of people gathered and they decided they weren't going to practice social distancing or any of the things that they're telling us to do? I don't think this is totally over yet.
Well, it's months away, is what I'm looking at. And sunshine, they already said sunshine definitely goes against this stuff. It helps get rid of it. Okay? So there's a lot of benefits to summer coming on. And
I agree with you, but you can still, the way they pass it can be cold, warm, sun, light. The whole idea is not to have a bunch of people together that one of them could possibly be sick because you can contaminate a whole bunch of people.
I think,
So what's illegal? We go ahead and say, okay, yeah, let's do that. And then we have a Lake of the Ozark thing like we seen. You know, are we liable for that?
That was a pool
Yeah.
that withered around, you know, I mean, that's a lot different. And they were drinking. I mean, it was.
I think a pool is a safer place to be, honestly.
It's Councilman Boyer's report. Is there anything else?
That'll do it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Weiner.
I have nothing, sir.
Councilman Dennis.
Nothing.
Councilman Cook.
I just had a few things. Again, I want to stress everybody in this council, I respect everyone's opinion. Brian, I picked up a little hesitation in your voice. It's not like that, I'm serious. I don't think there's a right or wrong way on this, I really don't. I just want to make sure I reach out to you on that. I made sure I wasn't argumentative, I want to listen to everybody. Just in my mind, I think we need a sense of let's get back to normal. So I kind of picked that up on your voice, so I just want to reach out to you. Hey Greg, is the lagoon closed or is it open?
Nope, lagoon's still open.
Perfect.
If you read in my report, they did begin the pump around procedure. That allows the retrofit of the Ludwig station. Basically upgrades the electrical, the switches, the pumps. Everything's still going to the lagoon. What needs to happen is Ludwig is being reconfigured to be able to pump uphill. So once that reconfiguration is done, obviously is when they're at the point where they would hook the lagoon, the pumps down there, and put the Y in for the pump at Ludwig into the new transmission line and start sending everything to the sewer treatment plant. But the first step of that process is this pump around procedure that allows them to retrofit Ludwig. So that's cool. That started today.
I'm going to ask you a very stupid question.
Okay.
I was at the Jefferson County Sewer District and I heard them talking, so I stole this. Do they test that before we go live? Like, so will they test all the new sewage mains and stuff we've laid?
It's all been tested.
Okay.
Yeah, Kevin Elbert, who has been on this project basically from start to finish, has been in charge of construction management and inspection. So they're with Jacobs Engineering, so obviously the firm that designed it, he's making sure that the contractor above and below is hitting spec on everything from nose to tail. So whether it's the pipe in the ground, whether it's the pump, whether it's the wiring gauge that goes to the control panel, whether it's the asphalt being put back in. We've had inspector on this project from the very beginning, and will continue until we eventually close the lagoon and get the certifications back from DNR on that.
Okay. I saw the budget's down almost 2%.
We're real close. The only part that would be left, essentially, once we go online, was, as we agreed at the beginning, was to delay the closure until it stops raining. It's summertime. We need a good hot couple of months to dry that material out so that we can spread it out and close that lagoon.
Okay. Has the county executive gotten back to any of the cities or any public entities on the CARES fund, how they're setting that up yet?
No, sir.
Okay. Last two things. I want to thank the council and applaud you guys. I've been on the council prior and I never spoke up. I felt bad. I love the hardship idea. I really do. I think sometimes we draw a line in the sand and I don't know. I've left meetings not real happy with myself that we've had a universal line in the sand when it came to our water bills, sewer bills. And we've had people in here who I truly believe were on bad times. And I think we failed to act, and I really like the hardship program. I want to say thank you to the council. And last, Mr. Mayor, with my motion, let me stress this. It's not a motion of concrete. I'm still keeping my mind open. I'm still doing my research. If something changes, all I ask is let's talk about it and we'll fix it. I think we have the ability to fix things. I really do. And Nobody got upset. This is a very spirited subject, I understand it is. I'm 60 pounds overweight and diabetic. If I get it, I'm gone. So, that's all I ask. If something changes, let's talk about it, and then we'll make corrections then if we need to. I'm open. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Councilman Tennant?
I think Mike said, plenty of information that I was gonna say. That, the decision, I think, was, based on we need to move forward. And it might produce a better outcome than if we just keep thinking that we're gonna open and, put people in a bind, maybe to step up to the plate and get the, equipment in place, rather soon. But I'm also like Mike, as far as, if there is any information or delays, we don't have the answers, it's not, I don't think there's anybody has answers for this. We're just trying to do the best we can do to get a halfway normal situation going. That's all I got.
Thank you, Jim. Councilman Gray?
I think that everything's going good, and I mean this when I say it, and I argue with a lot of people, but I think our supervisors and Greg and everybody, I really do have faith that they can carry this out, 100%. And I know like I said, I argue a lot with everything, but we talk about our employees and our supervisors, they're the best, but then, they're the best, but can they handle it? I think you guys can handle it, 100%. I really do, and it's our best foot forward, and I'm glad, in my opinion, I just felt uncomfortable, and I'm glad we're going to try this, because I just don't like leading from behind, like let the public take the hits. Like I can't say I'm I wasn't in the military like you two. My uncles all were, great uncles, I'm sorry. My uncle all served in the Pacific, in the Navy. And they would go out there, they wouldn't stand back and say, let's see if it's safe out there, then we'll go. They would feel like you do, let us try to help. And so I appreciate everybody doing this, and I mean that, okay, Sam? I mean, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Bill. I don't have anything.
Yes, you do.
I do.
You have one bit of good news to announce. Who pulled their foundation permit?
Oh, yes, you're right. Planet Fitness pulled their foundation permit. So they are going to start their building.
Thank God.
Good.
Over there on the good one.
Yeah. Over there.
If you can just get it handed in the fire.
Yeah,
that's all everybody get it.
Yeah.
Sounds get ready to say that, Hampton Inn.
And I think I mentioned the other day about the railroad bridge at Cromwell. Burlington Northern has given us a 90% plan on how they're going to fix that, get rid of that center post on the Cromwell there, on that bridge, and take out those wooden posts and finally update it. They can't raise it any, but it'll make it wider and better. It's gonna be kind of a hardship for anybody that lives in Alexander Heights and in that area, because they'll have to go around. But whenever it's completed, you won't have to worry about scraping the side of your truck on that skinny underpass.
That's really good news.
So, like I say, it's we got the 90% plans, we've went back to them, Matt, we have a big water line that goes under there, as you probably know, Bill, that we don't want to disturb. So we're talking with them about how that's going to happen. But hopefully, sometime in the near future, we'll get that taken care of.
They're the ones who's gonna have a scheduling problem with all their trains.
Yes. Yes, they sure will.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? There's no executive session needed, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn. But before I do, I'd like to say that this is Councilman Gray's last full meeting. The next meeting that we have will be the short one, and then we'll go from there.
I appreciate everybody not cheering that it was my last meeting.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Thank you, Bill.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.